Welcome to Erotically Neurotic, a sexy book club podcast. Join us as we take a deep dive into the world of romance and erotic fiction and have candid and hilarious conversations about sex, sexuality, and hidden fantasies.
Please note that each of our episodes will contain explicit content and language and lots of spoilers, so please listen at your own discretion.
Now grab your books and vibrators.
And welcome to the club. Erotic, neurotic, erotic, neurotic, erotic, neurotic, erotically neurotic.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, welcome.
Welcome to episode 6 of Erotically Neurotic. Is it episode 6?
I think it's like episode 8. Welcome to this episode of Erotically Neurotic.
I am so professional. Oh.
Well,
Wow, we've really recorded a lot.
I know.
It's not episode 6?
Might be.
Oh, I know. It's because I was thinking of Rush since we're going to post that tonight, and that's episode 6.
Yeah.
Even though we're recording weeks in advance. Yeah, welcome to episode 8 or something. We're not sure.
We can't do everything. You count.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You can count however many episodes.
It's like posted on Spotify and in our Instagram caption, so I think that's enough.
Yeah, I think this is really good.
Welcome to the really professional podcast, Erotically Neurotic.
I think as we find our introduction and our exit, these are just going to get better and better.
I really, really hope so.
Last week we stole from all other podcasts we listened to.
Yes.
And today we just don't give a fuck.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah. How are you?
I am so good. It was a crazy, rainy and snowy day.
Fucking set me on fire.
We're not ready for the snow, you guys.
Yeah.
That was scary.
Yes.
But one of my best friends, Andy, was in town just for 24 hours, and that was lovely. You got to meet her.
I did, finally.
That was actually, I'm just going to go ahead and say that was my rose of the week, was you two finally meeting, because it's been like actual years of talking about this.
Yeah, truly.
So my two besties meeting was such a rose.
That was a rose for me as well.
Yeah, and obviously you got along immediately like I knew you would, because you're both the most likable humans ever. So, yeah.
How about a thorn?
Oh my god, so this is weird. This was actually what I was going to tell you, and then I couldn't do two things at once, like Google searching and talking to you. So, I was reading my book last night, and it got dark. It got dark, but it didn't bother me.
Outside or the book?
Exactly. The book.
Okay.
The book was dark and like a little, it was like violent, kind of scary, but I wasn't scared in the moment. And then I put it down to go to sleep and like full-blown anxiety panic.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Were you thinking about the content of the book, or did it just kind of set your nervous system off?
Yeah, it totally set my nervous system off. I could not settle. I couldn't sleep. I was like so revved up. My body would kind of try to settle into sleep and immediately like jolt, like legitimately. It was kind of the closest I've come to having another panic attack in a long time.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I know, but I was also like, what the fuck? Because it didn't bother me reading it in the moment.
Right.
And then afterwards, it was like, it did something to me.
You know what? I had that reaction when I read The Paper Palace, which was so good. And this is a total spoiler alert. I mean, I'll try to keep it limited. But if you want to read The Paper Palace, which I absolutely recommend. It's a dark book, but it's a really good book.
Yeah, not a sexy book.
No.
No.
Which I had to explain to you multiple times because you were like, no, I think I'd be into it. I'm like, no. It's not sexy. Yeah. It's just real rapey. And you're like, we'll see.
Fine, just tell everyone what's going on over here.
We're a family here.
Yeah.
We don't keep secrets.
Yeah.
But yeah, after some of those more like sexual assault based scenes, they were so disturbing to me, but I didn't realize how disturbed I was until after I read it, and then I went to bed, and then suddenly my brain was like wide awake, couldn't get comfortable, felt so restless, so like unsafe, like just kind of listening to sounds outside, listening for creaks in my house.
Okay, well that actually makes me feel better that maybe my response is not so crazy. Because I didn't realize it in the moment. I was like, this is like fucked up as I'm reading, but not bothering me.
Yeah.
And then afterwards I was like panicking.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's terrible.
I mean, obviously I like finished the book this morning and like started the next one. So
you're like, I finished the book, masturbated, went to the next one.
So like we'll see what happens now. I am a glutton for punishment, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's why I had to stop listening to murder podcasts.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how much I love anything related to murder.
I know, and you got me into all these true crime podcasts that I loved, and then after a little bit I was like, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, it's because I couldn't sleep. Same thing. Like, I would love listening to it, really wouldn't feel a thing while listening to it. Yeah. But then I would go to bed and just suddenly feel so neurotic.
This is not going to work for me. Like, I need these books.
I know.
They're my favorite.
I'm really worried.
It's my favorite hobby.
But I think this is a good sign.
Is it?
It means you haven't completely dulled your senses to the content that you read.
We're always worried about me dulling my senses, and I feel like I've received many reminders that I haven't. So
yeah, this will keep you from upping the ante to a point where there's like no return.
Yeah. Maybe.
So that's at least postpone.
Yes. That's my rose and my thorn.
Those are good ones.
Yeah, what about you?
My rose is I'm going to see Pink this weekend in Vegas.
Amazing.
Which I'm very excited for. I'm not like I don't listen to her music that often, but I love watching videos of her performing. I mean, Homegirl does like a full Cirque du Soleil show.
She actually does.
While singing.
Roller skating?
Roller skating. She's upside down. She's twisting. She's turning. I just like love her, even if I don't love all of her music. Yeah. But I'm really stoked. I think it's going to be super, super fun.
I think so too.
So that's my rose. And my thorn is, I guess last week falling and dislocating my finger. Oh, yes. That's been a big thorn.
Yeah. I noticed today that your split is off.
Yeah. So last week I slipped on some steps. Because there's already frost here, because the universe fucking didn't punish us enough last year. They want to continue to punish us with this winter. I slipped on some frost on my steps, fell backwards, hit my head, landed on my finger, and then I'm so sorry for saying this. Looked at my finger and it was completely bent 90 degrees to the side. Like, and in that moment, I was like, oh, I'm still sleeping. Like, this isn't real life. This doesn't actually happen. And then a second later, screaming at the top of my lungs. And it was just horrific. All of it was horrific. But I was put in a splint after the doctor readjusted it, which was... I think I told you this the other day. Like, I think I now know what childbirth feels like. Like, I think we're on the same page now. I know what that pain is like. Fucking horrible. Put it in a splint. Went in today. Got some x-rays. It's healing nicely. And now I'm in it's like a buddy. They're buddy taped.
Yes.
So now
I'm so glad.
Splint is gone.
Well, thank God the x-ray shows all as well, because they weren't totally sure. So
well, it turns out I fractured my bottom knuckle. But they were like, that's not a big deal. It's just like a tiny little fracture and that'll heal. God. Yeah. But it's amazing when your middle finger is out of commission. Yeah. How much you actually can't do. Yeah. It's been a trying week for sure. But ultimately really not a big deal. I still have my health and all that good stuff.
Okay. But. You don't have to silver linings everything. It fucking sucks.
I can finally find silver linings. Yeah. I was an ongoing pity party all week.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But yeah, so that was my thorn.
Yeah. That's a shitty thorn.
Yeah. That's why I'm excited to be here, to be doing this. Yes. Because this fills my bucket.
Yay, me too.
Yay, let's talk about porn.
Okay. So you guys, our book today is called Sweet Distraction by Lainey Davis. And it's the first book in the Stag Brothers series, but it can be read as a standalone and written in 2018. And we're just going to get right into the synopsis.
Yeah, so Kayla's doing the synopsis, and then I'll be doing the book club questions.
Perfect.
Okay.
So this is a dual point of view between the two main characters, Timber, but he goes by Tim, and Alice. And we needed to say that his full name is Timber.
I forgot his name was Timber.
I know.
Yeah.
I do want to know how these names are created in authors' minds.
Yeah.
Because they're always like so out there.
Mm-hmm.
Timber?
Yeah. Timber. As in like me shivers.
Lou as in Timber.
It's kind of like Smash the Town. Yeah. That's what I'm going to start yelling now instead of evacuate the school children. Yeah. Just yell Timber.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
Okay, so Tim and Alice. So Tim is a hotshot lawyer who owns his own multi-million-dollar business. all before the age of 30, of course. Alice is a chef, and she gets her first job straight out of culinary school at Tim's office, working as a corporate chef. Side note, do business actually have corporate chefs?
They do.
That's incredible.
Yeah, like big law firms have corporate chefs.
Okay, so like hospitals don't have that.
Well, you have like cafeterias.
We have a cafeteria. I would really like a corporate chef in my next job in life.
I had a mini fridge in the office. Is that the same?
Yes, it is. Make your own food. So Tim and Alice are both immediately attracted to each other, and after some lovely build-up, they finally have sex by sneaking off from his brother's hockey game. I would say it's pretty hot.
Yeah.
They continue to secretly see each other, both of them realizing that they couldn't get each other out of their systems and that they actually feel some real feelings. They're both very close with their family in different ways, and they both take care of their siblings and family members, so they connect over that fact and over the fact that both of their mothers have already passed away. The relationship is still hidden at work when suddenly Alice looks really terrible and she faints in a meeting, hitting her head on a table. Tim goes with her to the ER and they find out she's pregnant. How could she be pregnant while on birth control? Well, Tim accidentally had shut off her phone alarm one night and she forgot to take the pill one time. Pretty shit luck, if you ask me.
Pretty strong sperm.
Strong swimmers. So they have disagreements about handling the pregnancy because Tim is very type A and wants to immediately get married and go to the top-rated OB practice and all the works. They quickly work out their issues and decide to settle down together in his family home, where they proceed to have sex, tell each other that they love each other, and then there's a short epilogue if you want to find out what surprises happen 8 months down the road. Bada bing, bada bang, bada boom.
Did you read the epilogue?
No.
Me neither.
I didn't.
I didn't need to know what happened 8 months down the road.
Yeah. I just lived that. I was good. No, that synopsis is short and sweet, but that's because the book was short and sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, what did you think?
I think it's a good book for people who are just getting started in this world.
Yeah,
Again,
I agree.
Super short, very easy to read, some really good sex scenes, not a crazy huge plot and like too many complex characters or anything. It's short and sweet. And I think for any of you that are like, I'm kind of interested in taking a step further than romance, but I'm like a little nervous about reading like too in-depth sex scenes and like really, really raunchy stuff, I think this is a nice foray into it because it's not too wild and crazy. There's just enough to like keep you going. Yeah. And then it wraps up and there's more in the series if you're interested in other brothers. Yeah. That's really who it goes to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think I 1000% agree that I thought Lainey Davis can really write a good sex scene. Yeah. Like I really enjoyed, and probably one of my biggest complaints was there wasn't enough because I was like, ooh, you were like, once she dropped that first one, I was like, yes, like, yeah, I am into it. And then it wasn't like filled with a ton of sex scenes, but I was really looking for that dopamine rush, and then we started talking babies, and then I kind of lost interest.
As we all know, as soon as babies are brought into the mix, Amanda is like, fuck this.
We'll talk about that later when we get. But I agree. Like, I think it's a really good starter book for someone dipping their toes into the kind of romance erotica.
Yeah, realm. Getting a little bit more into some erotic stuff than just the sweet romance.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Okay, let's get into the questions.
Okay.
So obviously a big theme in this book is that Timber is the boss. He's, I think, the owner, the CEO of this law firm. And she is obviously his employee. Did you ever have an affair with a boss or a higher up? And if not, was that ever something that you wanted?
I love a power dynamic in a sex book. Talk about like tropes we love.
Yes.
I know we did that back in the day. I think on one of the episodes we did. I love a power dynamic. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Can we say that anymore? Like, I'm a little scared. I'm going to take that part out.
We're not going to get canceled. Who the fuck is going to cancel us?
I don't know.
One of our friends who we've already had this conversation with. I think we're fine.
Yes. No, I've never had an affair with a colleague or a boss or anything at work. Theoretically, I would love to.
Tell me, like, why? What is it? What do you like about that dynamic?
I think it's probably... I think a lot of my stuff comes from, like, the domination factor. Mm-hmm. Not that the boss means he's going to be, like, dominating you outside of the actual work relationship, but it kind of feels like he would.
Yeah.
I kind of like that I'm in charge. Mm-hmm. I have more power. You submit to me. And I'm like, okay. You know what I mean? Plus, trust me, hospitals are not actually like this, but I like to envision, like, the Grey's Anatomy power dynamic there. Since my former work was at a hospital, I'd be like, okay.
But you ruined that fantasy last week when you were like, no one's hooking up in the supply closet.
No, I said the ICU room.
You said the pediatric ICU room.
Exactly.
So, okay, fair.
I'm not...
Where the adult ICU, fucking.
Exactly.
They're fucking everywhere.
Big fucking difference. Okay, big difference.
So much sexier.
Yeah. Conference rooms, we didn't get into that. We were talking about fucking pediatric ICU. No, God forbid.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say theoretically, give it to me. Mm-hmm. Yes. What about you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember when I was a teenager, I always wanted, I loved the fantasy of having an affair with a teacher.
Oh my God. So
which
true.
Is so horrific looking back. Just because, like, I would have been down. Like, I would have done anything. Yeah. Just because I think I have daddy issues. I also think I remember watching Dawson's Creek, and Pacey had an affair with his teacher. Yeah. And I thought that was so sexy, but I rewatched it a few months ago, and he's supposed to be like 14, and he tells her at one point, like, this is the best sex you'll never have.
Oh my God.
Like, I'll bet it's great sex.
You know what I agree
14-year-old.
As much as, so, the power dynamic, the power play is like one of my favorite tropes, but even more so, a teacher-student is probably my favorite within that trope. What's wrong with us?
I know, it's so fun.
Do you remember watching the show? It was a Hulu series, The Teacher.
Yes.
With Kate Mara.
I loved that show.
Like, I was into it, even though it was fun.
I know, but I think that's why that show was so brilliant, because I think in a lot of ways, it at times made it look romantic. Yes. But then when you saw the long-term effect it had on him, it shatters that illusion.
100%.
And I think for so long, you kind of only, like, so much of what was depicted in media growing up with the teacher-student was just the first part. Yeah. That it's, like, sexy and it's a coming-of-age story for the younger kid and all this stuff. Yeah. And you kind of lose sight of, especially in shows because they're all, like, 42 playing 14, you know? So
yeah,
it's like,
true.
But yeah, like, so that kind of shattered the fantasy a little bit by showing how traumatic it truly is.
100%.
But yeah, that was always a fantasy. So then as I got older, I always had that fantasy. Having said that, I never had an attractive boss. So I could never
So that's completely agreed.
Yeah. Or an attractive professor in college. Yes. In grad school, I never had.
That's
all
more
women.
What I like too. I'm like, okay, we're not talking about underage, but I've liked a few of the dynamics in books I've read where it's college students and professors, and I'm like, this works. Yeah. We're all 18 plus. Yeah. We don't care about the school rules.
I know. Yeah. I was really hoping grad school it would happen, but I never had a I had a boss try to groom me. That was in grad school, but fortunately nothing happened. And then I later found out he did it to all the young grad students in the office. Ironically, that was when I was a therapist for sex offenders. So there's a lot to unpack from those years.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah. But no, I always wanted it, but I never had the opportunity to act on it.
I guarantee you most women probably have wanted it.
I would think so. I think a lot of it has to do with, like, getting validation from an older person or validation from someone in power. Yeah. That's always something that I've craved.
Totally.
Yeah. How did you feel about Alice's relationship with her family? So in the book, they're very close. Yeah. She lives with them. She's a big part of their lives and vice versa. Would you want to be in a relationship with someone who's that close to their family?
Yeah, Alice is really, really close. I mean, they all live together. Like, she lives with her dad, her sister, her nephews, her brother. Yeah. They're all in the same house. I'm very close to my family. My husband's close to his family, and that's a big thing for both of us. Mm-hmm. Living with them close? Absolutely not. No, thank you. Mm-hmm. It's a little much. Mm-hmm. It's way too overbearing. Where's your privacy? Yeah. go away.
Yeah, truly.
No, it feels very codependent also, like a little unhealthy, you know?
Yeah.
And that's saying something, because I call my sister like 2 or 3 times a day. I call my mom 3 to 4 times a day.
Oh what do you have to talk about?
Nothing. I'm like, hi, I'm driving to the gym. And then that's it. But I just call.
Yeah.
So that's someone who recognizes her own codependency. And this is like, Alice was next level.
Yeah.
Because
truly.
even I don't want to live in the same house with them.
Well, and she said she when they start to talk about like moving in together when she gets pregnant, she's like, I refuse to not be within walking distance of my father's house.
Yes.
That's a lot.
That's a big ass.
That's a lot.
Like, really?
Yeah.
Not even like a 5-minute car ride isn't good enough?
Right. I mean, take your Volvo.
Yeah. Oh my God, wait. Oh my God, I can't wait to talk about that. Please tell me that's one of the questions.
It's not one. What's your favorite Volvo model?
Guys, one of my favorite parts of this book, interjection, is, so you know, usually when you're reading one of these books, if the guy's like a bigwig, if they ever talk about a car that they're trying to show off, it's like whatever, like a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or blah, 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 blah. I could not fucking stop laughing that Tim mentions a solid 4 or 5 times about how great his car is, and it's a Volvo XC60. No, excuse me. It's a Volvo XC90.
And for those of us who aren't car people, can you explain why that's hilarious?
I drive a Volvo XC60. And his car is just bigger. It is like a great mom car. And the amount of times that it's stated, it's not just like, oh, my great car. It's like, my amazing Volvo XC90. And I was dying laughing, just like envisioning myself loading my baby up into the car, shoving it full of all of our baby diaper crap. And like, there's nothing sexy about this car. The whole point of Tim is he's like, it's the safest car. It'll be great for a kid. This is before they were pregnant or anything.
Yeah.
But it was it's the most unsexy thing I could think of. I mean, it's a kid's SUV type of car.
Right. And the context of it is like his mother died in a car accident. So, but what was so weird is his car is never mentioned. And then in one chapter, he says Volvo X whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
4 different times. And each time he says it, he turns to another character and goes, it's a really safe car. So I wrote a note like, is this a Volvo commercial? Did Volvo fund this book?
I was cracking up, especially because I don't know anything about cars at all, but I just happen to know exactly what that car is because I have that car. So it just really, really rang true. And I was dying laughing.
It's just so, it really felt like maybe she just got some funding from Volvo. So she's like, shit, I gotta like, in my contract, I gotta mention Volvo 7 times.
But they were really trying to make it seem like sexy, and it had this sex appeal. Him in this car, this Volvo. And I was like, what is this? That was amazing. Yeah.
I love it.
So you wouldn't want to live with your 4 siblings and your dad?
It's like a really good question. Let me really think about that. No, I'm very close with my sisters. And I moved across the country. Like I say that not as a neg to my sisters because I love them so much. They're also listeners.
Yeah. Also, we'll talk privately.
Circle back.
Yeah.
No, but I feel secure in my relationships with them that I can move across the country and still feel close to them.
Yeah.
I don't need to be within walking distance of their bedrooms to like feel confident establishing a life and planting roots somewhere.
That's healthy.
That would be too much. Like even my husband's very close with his family and he moved across the country from them.
Yeah.
He talks to them on the phone frequently, which I think is wonderful.
Totally.
But being able to have a little bit of distance.
Yeah.
I need that. Like
well, I think so many people realize that their relationship does better when there's physical distance. You actually can grow closer that way.
Yeah, well, what I think happens, and I noticed it happening to me maybe a little bit when I lived really close to my family, and this is just my own neuroticism, and I see it in other people, is I do think there's a little bit of an arrested development that can happen, that if you don't really leave your... I'm going to get therapist-y, I just realized this. Sorry. If you don't really leave your family of origin, if you don't create autonomy from them, then you stay in those dynamics. So a lot of us, notice that when we're with our family of origin, if we're with our parents, if we're with our siblings, we kind of start to behave the way we did when we were younger.
True.
So if you're always with them, that means you're never growing past that.
Oh, fuck.
You're always in that role. So I think there it stagnates your development, right? So,
is this like a hidden message to me?
Yeah, really, honestly, this entire podcast is just an ongoing intervention.
No, but it's so true. Well, I mean, it was so before my whole family, you know, lives out here now too, and I feel really lucky. Obviously, we're all very close. But when my sister and I would go back to Georgia to our family home for Thanksgiving, it was like the second we stepped in that house, we were back to me being 14 and her being 16 and those dynamics. Like fighting like little teenagers back in our roles just like we were as kids. When traveling on the plane and everything together, everything was good. Yeah. It was like the second we were back there, it was boom, boom, boom.
Yes.
It was insane.
It totally happens.
Ugh.
I know. I noticed it even when my sister came out to visit. Like, nothing bad. Yeah. But it's like my sense of humor shifted to be more like teasy, you know, like in a way that I'm just not with other people. Yeah. I don't know. So I think it's great if you can be close to your family. If you're not close to your family, I think that can be great too, if that's what you need. Sure. But I do think if you are enmeshed with your family, then I don't see you growing a ton.
That makes sense.
So would I want to be in a relationship with someone who still acts the way they did when they were 15? No.
Yeah. Agreed.
No. Mm-mm.
Love you guys.
Okay. What do you think about the unexpected pregnancy trope in romance novels? And how do you think it was handled in this book?
Okay. It definitely, I didn't see it coming. Oh, yes. We had briefly talked about this, and then we were like, no. We have to stop talking about the book. Yeah. We have to wait for the podcast because we like for everything to happen very organically on here, if you can't tell. So we're like, no more talking. Yeah. But I remember saying that it came out of nowhere for me. I had no idea it was going to happen. And you were like, how did you miss that? He silenced her alarm on her phone. And I was like, oh shit. I thought it was like her sister calling her because like an emergency happened with the nephews. And then I just basically forgot that scene ever happened. And so then when she got pregnant, I was like, what the fuck?
Oh my God, you're such a Timber.
Like literally completely caught me by surprise. As everyone knows, the pregnancy trope does not do it for me. I don't find pregnancy and having a child sexy at all. So it just takes that appeal away. Yeah. We know you think that for sure too.
But I had a new thought. Okay. I mean, I'm not changing my opinion in the slightest. I think it's super gross. But I think I was part of my reaction to it. It feels compensatory for some of the like promiscuity in the book. So let me explain what I mean by that. Because like that's English I know, I'm sorry. That's just like how the only way my brain can like keep it kind of concise. I wonder sometimes if authors feel the need to like, if there's like a lot of sex in a book or someone's, you know, they're kind of like, they're fucking on a conference room table in front of people. It's an inappropriate power dynamic, whatever. If they sometimes feel the need to like justify all of it or make it all like okay or clean or
by getting a baby out of it.
By making it like, oh really it ended in this beautiful thing and now they're a family. Versus like allowing characters to like just fuck. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like does that make sense?
It actually makes a lot of sense.
It's kind of like a woman can't just like go fuck and have fun and explore her sexuality. It all has to be a means to an end of like being a mom and a family and being in love.
Yes. That's such a good point. I've never thought about it like that. Yeah. It's always I've been thinking a lot lately, like what is it about a pregnancy trope that people are into? Because I just don't relate to it at all. Yeah. I guess I relate to the romanticism of becoming a family. I can understand why someone would be into that. Again, no. Like, babies aren't sexy, and pregnancy, for me, wasn't sexy, so I'm not like, ooh, yeah, bring it in my erotic book. I understand, like, the happily ever after of it. But I think people that are really into the pregnancy trope, there's got to be more than that. there's something very specific because you can have a happily ever after without pregnancy. And it's just the two people.
Yeah.
And I wonder.
Yeah. Like, what void does that fill? Or what, is it like a sense of security? Like, now that there's a baby involved, it ties up nicely because they'll stay together.
Yeah. And to me, I feel like I feel the opposite. I'm like, you guys don't know each other.
I know.
You can't have a baby yet.
You don't know each other.
You can't have a baby. You can't have a baby. This shit is hard. Do not have a baby. I'm like,
just enjoy fucking.
Literally, I'm like, alert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
So I think that's part of why it does the opposite to me. I'm like, no, you have no idea what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Like,
I know. I just feel like my vagina like cements over when I read baby tropes. I'm just like, nope.
I've been, I told Amanda I'm like in this new private group where people are into like, very specific tropes. And like some people are really into like not even just pregnancy trope, like breeding trope.
Oh.
Which I guess is just like taking it like further and further. Like obsessed with getting someone pregnant.
Interesting.
Not even just like, and they got pregnant and lived happily ever after. But like one of the main things they look for is like, no, we really like them getting the woman pregnant is super important.
Interesting.
I don't get it.
Yeah. Have we talked about ovophilia?
I feel like we might have, but you have to remind me.
This is like next level.
Okay.
But it's and I'm obviously, let us know if I'm misquoting this. I Googled this once at like 4 a.m. when I was in Miami. So like, we'll see if I'm misremembering
so specific.
it. But it's the fetish of having an alien lay eggs in you.
You've told me this. And my question was, how would someone know that's a fetish? Because how do you experience that?
I think it's the way... Well, it's the idea of it. It's the fantasy of it, right? So it's the way, like, your books get progressively darker. I think some people, maybe when they read, like, more sci-fi romance, then that starts to come in. Like, but you can get, like, a dildo that inserts little, like, gelatinous eggs in you. This podcast is brought to you by Adam and Eve. Go get your ova dildo.
Oh, my God. That is something. Yeah.
So there's a whole spectrum of like pregnancy tropes that we're not even touching.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This goes far.
Yeah. This goes far.
This goes far.
Okay, so favorite sex scene.
Okay, I agree with you. I thought the sex scenes were well done. There wasn't a ton of them. Mm-hmm. Let's see. There was the pregnancy sex at the end of the book in the house, in his house. I didn't relate to that because when I was pregnant, I was like, stay the fuck away from me. So, okay, I guess I would say I would go with the first time they had sex. Actually, no, it's not the first time, but it's the first time that they're with each other fully naked. Oh. Yes, because the first time they had sex, they didn't even get fully naked. So this is the first time they're fully naked and we're having sex in his apartment after dinner. And I highlighted this one line because I said that I just loved the authority here. It's so sexy. They had finished eating dinner, and she said, "Where to now?" And Tim says, "Now, Alice, I'm taking you back to my apartment to fuck you properly." And I was like, oh, okay. sounds good. That sums up my feelings about that. So sounds okay to me.
If you say so.
Okay. I just love the authority. And then they proceed to go back to his house where, again, it's like the first time they're really going to like explore each other's bodies and not just have like rushed sex in a random room in this hockey center. Mm-hmm. And I loved it. I loved how he talked to her. You know, he says to Alice, "I want to feel you come around my cock. I want to feel your pleasure. You're so wet, baby." And I'm like, okay, that works for me.
That'll do.
That'll do it. And she does. And again, Lainey Davis does just a really good job describing these sex scenes.
Really excellent.
Yeah. So I would say that's my favorite.
That's a good one.
There was one, I remember saying this to you, and you're like, "There is no way that's what he said." And I said, no, that's what he said. He did, her breasts were described as globes.
That's in the beginning. I sent you that quote and I was like, we're definitely doing this. What I
wrote, I'll never look at a snow globe the same way again.
What I had a reaction to is
what?
I missed this. When they have sex after she's pregnant, when she's really pregnant.
Yes.
And he calls her nipples teats.
Oh, wait. That's what it was.
Yes.
That's what it was.
I'm just like, no. you just picture like a pregnant cat or something.
Yeah, the word choice really didn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't. Okay, wait. Also, this is not a sex scene, but just interjection because I found where I highlighted this. Just a quick example of the Volvo talk. Volvo, not vulva. Okay. This isn't Jim's point of view. I considered using my driver, but decide I don't want anyone else looking at Alice today. It's been a while since I've taken my Volvo XC90 for a ride anyway. And I like the look on Alice's brother's face when I pull up to the Peterson house. Nice ride, Stag, he says. Safest car on the road.
Can you do a search?
Wait, but even better than the brother goes. He goes, I know that, asshole.
You think I don't fucking know my Volvo XC90? You dickbag.
That's honestly one of my favorite things I've ever read in my life.
I keep thinking about it. Okay.
I know that asshole. Your house, just taking my Volvo XC60 for a spin, Amanda. It's the safest car on the road.
Like, I know that, you stupid bitch.
Oh my god. Side note, my husband just texted me in all caps, what is so funny? So I guess he could hear us from upstairs.
Oh my god. All right, we gotta keep it moving. I'm sweating now.
That was great. That's better than that's my favorite scene. Okay, it doesn't need to be a sex scene. That's my favorite scene.
Fully torqued. I feel like I can't really match that.
I don't think you can.
Oh my god, that was so funny. I just really want to do a word search now and find all the times he says Volvo, SC90 or whatever.
Doesn't it feel weird to be saying Volvo and not vulva?
It does. It's very against what my body wants to be doing.
Yeah. Goes against our nature.
It goes against our nature. I want to talk about my sex scene, my favorite sex scene, but I have to point out that clearly neither of us are hockey fans because we don't know what the place is called where they play
ice rink.
Yes, you called it like
a hockey center.
A hockey center. In my note, I put ice rink. Okay, right? I kept thinking I just said hockey place at first. So
yeah,
okay,
a place of hockey.
The house of hockey.
I like that. The house of hockey.
Okay, so my favorite sex scene is the first time they have sex.
Okay. Agreed, this is hot.
Yes. So his brother is a professional hockey player. They go to see him. It's like, I don't know, championship or some shit. And tensions between them had kind of like gotten to the point that they could not sit next to each other. And they kind of start touching, but there's other employees around, so they can't really do anything. So then he finally takes her. He's like, come with me. They go into this like special elevator that takes them down to a conference room. And then they do it. And it's super hot. Agreed. I was there for it the entire time.
Yep.
I wrote a note that said, I've never been so hard reading a sex scene that involved a turtleneck. Because earlier she was in her gym clothes when he came across her and invited her to the hockey show. And she's like, oh, my shirt's all dirty. And he goes, I think I have a turtleneck in my office. It's so weird. So now we have have to know that Timber wears turtlenecks.
It's cold in the ice rink.
But he was in his office.
Yeah.
He just had, like, the way, like, a lot of businessmen have, like, spare button-down shirts, you know? Yes. He just has, like, drawers of turtlenecks.
What would you do if your husband wore a turtleneck?
I mean, I don't even know how he would be able to get it into the house. There's no fucking way I would ever permit my husband to wear a turtleneck.
I definitely don't think mine's ever worn a turtleneck. But I'd probably prefer a turtleneck over, you know my hard limit.
Oh, yeah.
Jeans and flip-flops.
Oh, God. Whenever I think of turtlenecks, I think of, like, mustard yellow. Like, I think
terrible.
Of the worst possible
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. He's also, the same way he can't wear pants and flip-flops, he's also not allowed to wear turtlenecks.
Yeah.
But luckily, I don't think he would ever try.
So in the sex scenes, she's wearing his turtleneck this whole time. And she goes, but then his hands find my nipples beneath his turtleneck, and I stop caring. I was like, can we not keep mentioning the turtleneck?
The turtleneck.
And Tim's thumbs rub my sensitive nubs until they're hard as cherry pits, poking through my sports bra.
Wow, that's hard.
Yeah, sure. I am concerned about the content of your nipples. But other than that, it's a really good sex scene. They end up fucking on the conference room table.
Yep.
Like, still have clothes on because it's so rushed. I think Lainey Davis just does, like, a really good job of making it, like, really good build up. It's really sexy. What I really liked about this sex scene, which I'm sure it happens in other books, but I can't think of any that it stood out this much, is that the first half is from her perspective and then the second half is from his perspective.
Yes.
So that was really enjoyable because I felt like there was a good balance of both of them getting pleasure, both of them giving pleasure, both of them doing dirty talk.
I agree, because you know what? There are so many times in these books where I'm like, I'm sick of your point of view. I want the other one's point of view.
Uh-huh. And again, like you said last time, or like another time we spoke about this, that it's often the girls just, like, writhing around moaning, being like, oh my God, oh yeah. But when you get to see both of their points of views, they're, like, both active participants, which I really like.
Agreed.
Yeah. So my last question is, what did you think about Tim's initial reaction to learning about her pregnancy? Do you think this was a reflection of toxic masculinity or a trauma response?
Yeah, so he's super overbearing when he finds out she's pregnant. Suddenly he's like, okay, well, now we're like, basically, we gotta get married, we gotta get a house. But then he's also very controlling over where he wants her to go. Like, again, he wants her to be at this OB clinic, not the midwife center, and he really freaks out. It didn't bother me so much. I was like, oh, if I was Alice, I'd probably, like, be a little annoyed, for sure. But I was like, I felt bad for him. Like, he was freaking out and spiraling. And
yeah, he was, like, manic.
Yes.
Like, it wasn't just overbearing. He was, like...
Yes.
Wearing dirty clothes, showing up at her house, not sleeping,
yes.
Pounding on the front door.
But you know what? In his defense, she learned she was pregnant and kind of ghosted him.
Yeah.
So, like, I didn't love that. And she was like, I need my space. Like, this is too much, which I get. But then he finds out his person is going to be having his baby, and he's, like, ghosted. Mm-hmm. So if I was him, I'd be like, yeah, freaking out too.
Yeah.
So no, I more felt bad for him because I was like, oh my God, like, he's manic, he's going crazy. Mm-hmm. This is obviously a lot on him, and he has some past issues. Yeah. That was definitely my thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you think?
No, I agree. Like, I think I really didn't. I kind of took issue with how she initially responded, which was like, she passed out. She didn't know she was pregnant, brought to the hospital, and the nurse is like, congratulations, you're pregnant. And they both are like, the fuck? Totally. And then she immediately kind of gets shitty with him because he's like, well, what do you want to do? And she's like, I'm not terminating. And it's like, Jesus. Like, okay.
He didn't ask you that.
Can it just be a conversation?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I think at first glance, how he was behaving could seem like it was like toxic masculinity, like I call the shots, I'm the one with the money, whatever. But within the context of his story, which was like his mom died in this horrific crash, his dad totally checked out, was an alcoholic, so he had to take care of his siblings. So I think, like, for me, I saw it as like this trauma response of like, oh fuck, shit's hitting the fan, and once again I have to take care of everything. Like, I have one more person to take care. It has to be perfect. I can't let anything happen to them. Yep. It was, like, a little much. Yeah. Like, him pounding on her door and her sending him. Like, I just felt like it it was just kind of a bizarre shift.
I agree. And I was just like, can you guys just like learn how to communicate?
I know.
This is a little dramatic.
Again, this is the trope. Like, they have no communication skills whatsoever, but suddenly they're having a baby and everything's supposed to be great. Like, it just...
Exactly.
But I to me, it registered as like a depiction of a trauma response.
Yes.
More so than like he's just an asshole.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. Completely agree.
Yeah.
So what would you rate this book?
For sex scenes, maybe 7. I would say 7 because I do think the sex scenes are really strong.
I think I'm in agreement. I think there was some really nice build-up.
The first half, I think, would get a higher rating. The second half is what killed it.
I know, because once the pregnancy, all that comes in, you and I are just like, all right, no.
Yeah, not interested.
But I do think it's a nice... I do think it would be a good book for people who are, again, wanting to start and get a little bit more into this world.
Yes.
But they're scared to commit to, a big series or, like, too much, too aggressive. Like, nothing about this was aggressive. It was, like, pretty vanilla in terms of all of that.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad we read it, and I think it's worth a read.
Totally. And I think... it's a series, so even if the tropes in this one aren't really your thing, that her writing is really good. So you could go on to the next book and read about the brother. I think I plan on reading more of her books. Yeah. Just to kind of get her vibe.
I know, I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we hope that you'll join us on our next episode. We're going to be reading a romantasy called Bite of Loyalty. And it's book 1 of the Blood Oath series. Yeah. So we're looking forward to another romantasy, I know.
Yeah.
I finished this one. I don't know if you've started it yet.
No, not yet.
Okay. So I enjoyed it. Again, this was a short, easy one. But there's like many books in this series for anyone that wants to continue. So we'll have to talk about that next time. Yeah.
I've been needing a good series to get lost in.
Yeah. So this might be yours. We'll see. All right. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye. Love you. Oh, same time.
Thank you for being a part of our Erotically Neurotic community. Don't forget to email your book recommendations, book club questions, and/or any erotic stories, embarrassing moments, or sexual triumphs you want to share. Email us at eroticallyneuroticpodcast@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram at Erotically Neurotic Podcast.
Hi there, Amanda here. I think it's worth noting that any and all thoughts shared in these episodes are a reflection of my own personal and constantly evolving opinions, and not that of my profession or licensing board. While I am a therapist, I am not your therapist. Therefore, nothing I say in this podcast should be taken as therapy advice or guidance. Thank you so much for being a part of our Sexy Book Club, and tune in next week for our next episode.